So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. We're going to do a little bit of a shorter practice today. See if you can become aware of your forehead skin because often we hold tension there. And in our yoga practice, if we learn to release the face as we're going through poses, so I might remind you to soften your forehead and maybe soften your jaw as we go through the practice today. But if you sit with your legs cross-legged and you hold your middle finger and your first finger and thumb around your toes, see if you could just roll back and roll up. So you roll back and roll up. Now, you might have bony bits on your spine. It might not feel so good, but see if you can engage your abdominals here, and if that makes it a little bit easier. So what you can do is you can add the rolling back and then coming forward and rolling back, coming forward and rolling back and coming forward. So we've got the spine coming, but we also we're getting that curve in the spine, but also using the abdominals to start this process. And then change the leg crossover so you can do on the other side. And if you can't go very far, you can just kind of come here and come up. So it's more momentum than power. So you could just go to a little bit of your back, like just the lower back like this, or you can swing into it more fully. And I just want you to pay attention to your own body as you do this, because it depends on, where the bony bits of your spine are, where you're going to feel this. And since we're sitting here, hold on to your big toes and see if you can slowly start to straighten them. And you can just stay here, lift the chest up, bend the knees, and see if you can find that balance. If you can straighten the legs, great. If not, you can just stay there for a few breaths. Then drop the legs and come into boat pose. And then cross the legs over, and then just come forward and come back, and you're on hands and knees, and you can tuck the toes under and come back into downward facing dog. Just try to open the backs of the legs. So I'm going to show you a little bit of things that you can practice, and then walk the feet up. I haven't done this in a while, and there's ways to play with this, but come with your feet hip width, and then you can inhale the arms overhead, and then you can exhale into Utkatasana. Then you can come into a forward-facing bend, and then you can actually bend here and roll back, and then come forward, and then come to, so there's a lot of possibilities here. You can play with this. Come into boat pose, and then you can roll forward and jump the legs back into downward facing dog. And then you can slowly walk the feet up towards the hands. Bend the knees a little bit and just shake the spine here. And then slowly roll up again. And I'll just try to guide you a little bit through this. It's just sometimes a nice way to really warm up the whole body. So inhale the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale into Utkatasana. And then go into standing forward bend, Uttanasana. And then as you bend the legs here, you can come all the way down and roll back and forward and back and forward like we did. And then you can come into bow pose. And then you can bring the hands forward as you roll. And then you can walk the feet back into downward dog. I'm not making this too hard for you, I hope, anyway. And then just a couple of breaths in downward facing dog. And then slowly walk the feet towards the hands, and you can have a little bend in the knees, shaking the head out. And then depending on your back, you can either slowly roll up, or you can just scoop the arms up and come back into Urdhva Hastasana, arms overhead pose. And then exhale the arms down. So we'll just try one more little bit of this, see how this goes. Inhale the arms up to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale into Utkatasana, powerful pose. Then we bend forward into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. You can have your hands on your shins or your thighs. And then you're just gonna allow the bend to bring the momentum into rolling back and then rolling forward and then coming into bow pose. And then roll forward again. So you're using that head and tail, the forward again, and then you can step the legs back into downward dog. There's a whole thing of momentum in connecting poses like this that we can do, but I'm just trying to start simple. And one more time, just walk the feet towards the hands. You can have a little bend, shake out the spine, and either rolling with the knees bent up or really scooping the arms up and come up to standing. And then we'll do a few more standing poses. Maybe we'll make this a little bit more of a heating practice, a little warming practice. So we'll go into tree pose, and I will do mirror image. So stand on your right foot, and then you can either bring the left foot down low, or you can bring it up higher, or you can use the hand to bring it higher, and really pointing those toes down to the ground. See if you can really cinch those hips in. And then if you're feeling stable, you can bring the hands into prayer, and then the hands overhead as the teacher falls out. And then release the arms down and the foot down. And then come back into Tadasana with the feet, legs wide or hip width. And then standing on the left foot, bring the right foot. It can be quite low if that feels right, or you can bring it up higher. You really want to cinch in those hips. So you don't want to be lifting this hip up higher. And then you can bring the hands into prayer. And if you're stable, you can bring them overhead. And then release the arms down and foot down. And then take the left foot up. See if you can cross it right here in front of your knee. And then come down into a little squat pose like Utkatasana or one-legged Utkatasana. And if you're feeling stable, you can bring the arms up. To come out, if you want more of a challenge, you can slowly straighten the body up. And that's where the foot is, and then place it down. Otherwise, you could put the foot down first. So you could put the foot down first and then come up. And exhale down. And then standing on the left foot, bring the right ankle down towards the knee. And then go into a little modified Utkatasana. Inhale the arms up if you feel the stability there. And if you're feeling stable, you can slowly straighten the body. Bringing that foot down. And then the arms down. And then we'll just step those feet out wide and go into Utthita Trikonasana. So you can just, soften the knees here so that you can, I'll do mirror image again, take that left foot toe to heel, right foot heel to toe. I have to get into my body parts and know exactly what's there. And then inhale the arms up. And as you reach with that right arm, see if you can find that length in both sides. And then one arm can go down and the other up. Or if you just want to play with the power in the legs and just really extend through the arms and the chest, you can do that. Look up to the top arm if you're okay in the neck. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel again. And then again, you can soften the knees here. And take the right foot toe to heel. Left foot heel to toe. And then reach through that side body. Finding the thigh or the shin. And then I'm not even placing my arms down. I'm really working from the power of the legs here. And then really expanding my wingspan here through my arms. And then looking to the top arm. So I have to really press my feet into the floor. Really feel that power in the feet. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel. And then you can just bring them in together. We won't do the jumping part. And have a couple of breaths there. Trying to lower the heart rate. And then again, step out those feet wide. And so you can have a little softness in those legs. And this time, we're going to pivot all the way around so that back heel, the back foot turns in, and then the hips face forward. And we're going to do the triangle twist here. So then you're going to inhale the left arm up, so the opposite arm from the leg, and then you're going to lean forward. You can keep your right hand on your right hip here, and then if you can reach the thigh or the leg, you can place it there and start to pivot. Bring the abdominals in, and the right hand can be on your sacrum or the top arm can come up. And then slowly Windmill the arms up, coming through the center again. So you can take an inhale, you can release the hands down for an exhale. And then you can take an inhale and lift the arms up again. Now, as you soften the knees so that you can pivot all the way around, so that the hips are facing forward like headlights as best as you can. And then you can take the left hand to the left hip. Inhale the right arm up. And then here, you're going to lean as far forward as you can. And then you can find that shin and start to twist into those abdominals. Hand can be on the sacrum and or the top arm can come up. And then slowly come around, bringing the feet wide. And then you can bring them close together and have a couple of breaths in Tadasana, slowing down that heart rate. And then bring the feet out wide again. And this time we're going to come forward. So see if you can really charge up the legs, up into the outer hips. See if you can feel that engagement in the legs. Then inhale the arms up to the side. And you can swan dive forward. See how far you can go. Now you may not be able to go very low. You can stay here and then bring the hands down. If you have a bench, this little thing could be quite useful. You know, if you need something with your hands, you can stay here for a few breaths. And when you have something to put your hands on, you can use a chair to put your hands on. You can really press the hands and really get those legs engaged so that, you know, the knees aren't bent and you're not drooping the legs. Because in order to get that stretch in the back legs, you really have to engage the outer legs, the front legs, the inner thighs. So if you can go lower, you can bring your hands down to the floor and then walk them towards the feet and see if you can just lengthen through the top of the head. You can spend some time here moving the head around. And if you want a different challenge, you can bring the arms behind you and get some stretch in the shoulders. You can really roll those shoulders as well. And then coming out of it, a couple of ways to do that. You can just bring the hands on the hips and have a few breaths here, or hands down here and have a few breaths here. Just a couple of breaths with the torso parallel to the floor or a little bit higher. And then you can slowly come up and just inch those legs towards each other. And then stand in Tadasana just for a few breaths to allow if there's any the blood flow to return. So in a way, that pose is considered a little bit of an inversion because your heart is lower than, your hips are higher than your heart. You could say your heart's lower than your hips, yeah. So it does reverse the blood flow and down to the head. We will just have a little hip stretch, which I'll just show you sideways. You can, if you can bring the knees a little bit wide and turn the feet out. So you don't want to, yeah, you don't want to put pressure, too much pressure on your knee, but you can bring the hands down and then play with a little bit going forward and then lifting those hips back. And it's going to depend on your hips, what's going on. So you can bring the knees a little bit wider if you need to, and then bring the hips back. And if you want a little bit wider, you can do that. So this is just using gravity to get more inner thigh stretch and just a little bit of movement in the hips. And then if you want to bring the elbows together, you can get a shoulder stretch here as well. Sort of a variation on that puppy pose, I guess. And then slowly release that. And if you have something to sit on, a blanket, a bolster, will go into, or you can do it without that. So I'm gonna sit this way. We're gonna do full Gomukhasana pose. I'm on my hands and knees. I'm gonna lift the right leg up, put it behind the left. Now you can, this is where if you want some height, you can sit on a block. You can also sit on the foot. But whatever you choose to do, and I'll turn around now. We're just going to sit here for a few breaths, so whichever variation you're choosing. Or maybe I should sit to the side. Just allow the body to settle here and the hips to open. And then it's the opposite arm comes up where the legs forward. So bring that left hand between your shoulder blades. And you can just leave it there for a few seconds, really opening the front shoulder here. And then you're trying not to distort the back. So I'm trying not to push that forward. And then inhale the right arm up. And then bend at the elbow. And if the fingers don't touch, that's okay. You've got the elbow up. And a couple of breaths here. And then release the arms. And then you'll go forward again. And you'll lift that right leg back up and bring it down. And again, whatever you need on the second side, if you need something to sit on, use that. So we'll take that left knee, lift it up, bring it over, and then you can sit between the feet like I showed you on the block so you've got some height. Or you can sit on that foot if that works for you. But then, of course, you've got to get the balance if you can sit here. But a lot of it depends on how your hips are. So, and it's funny, I've been listening to some yoga teachers say, yeah, eventually this will happen. And I kind of laugh and say, well, not necessarily. Because all our bodies are not going to reach the maximum in certain poses, or I should say that we go as far as we can. We go to our edge. So this time you bring the right hand between the shoulder blades, if you can find that space there, and sit for a few breaths to really open the front shoulder. You could even take the opposite hand and put it right there along the collarbones and trying to roll that shoulder out. And I guess I can sit this way to show you what I mean. Whoops. Just put myself on the metal line there. That didn't feel so good on my foot. So you can take this opposite arm and just really open that front shoulder. And then you can inhale the left arm up. And if you can't reach the hands, that's okay. Don't distort your neck just to reach the hands. Like it would be a teacher that might say, and eventually you'll be able to hold your hands. Well, not necessarily. But you might find more space and mobility in the shoulders after you do a pose like this. Yeah. And then slowly come forward again and release the legs. And then just come forward into forward-facing hero pose for a couple of breaths. And then take whatever Shavasana works for you today. Feet up on the chair, legs up on the wall. You can just lay in flat Shavasana. But if you decide to do that, or whichever pose you're in, see if you can press the elbows down and really roll the shoulder blades down there. And then release one arm and then the other. And see if you can allow gravity to really move the shoulder blades closer to the floor and allow them to soften. Now that we're here, notice how your forehead skin is feeling. Notice how your jaw is. Is there any tension in your face? And see if you can feel as if your face had been a mask and now it's starting to just melt and soften around the forehead, softening around the edges of the hairline and the scalp, softening around the cheekbones, the jaw, softening around the chin, softening back to those ears and the back of the head. See if you can really soften that throat and those collarbone notches. So that softness from your face really pours through your shoulder blade area, down your arms, into your fingertips. So your arms are relaxed. And then this continues to pour through your rib cage, your pelvis, your thigh sockets, and all the way down your legs into your feet and toes. So your whole torso and legs are nice and relaxed. And again, check in with your jaw and your forehead. See if you can really soften those two places. And slowly begin to reawaken your body, bringing a little bit of movement to your hands and feet. And you can slowly roll to your side and come up to sitting. And maybe throughout the day you can pay attention to your jaw and the skin on your forehead and at your scalp line. See if you can just start to notice those places in the body. And perhaps if you have to sit in front of a computer and do some work, you can just spend a little time in a little break where you just stroke the face a little bit down to the jaw, down the jawline, down the chin, and just give that to you as a little break at the computer. Maybe even it feels nice to me. You might not like it, but even, feeling my ears or even cupping my ears like this can be really nice if I'm sitting at the computer, and even holding the back of my head. That can be a really nice way to relieve the pressure, taking that little 2-minute break at the computer. So thank you. Have a beautiful day and namaste.